Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Sharice Ruan, Marketing Specialist at Alertus Technologies. During this presentation, John Dorney, Product Manager, will provide insight on Alertus outdoor notification solutions and how you can use it to effectively reach your constituents in outdoor areas. Feel free to submit your questions during the webinar at any time, and they will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. If you have any questions after this presentation, please email marketing@alertus.com. Now I'd like to turn it over to John.
All right, thank you so much. Again, my name is John Dorney. I'm the product manager here at Alertus for the outdoor mass notification solutions. Basically, my responsibility is anything outdoors, anything for your fields and your parking lots, anywhere outside your campus. We're going to go through briefly a history of Alertus and sort of what we do on a high level. Then from there, we're going to sort of focus down and really dig into our outdoor solutions and kind of show you the different methodologies and processes that we go through to define your system and really to iterate and tailor a system custom to your campus or to your military base or your facility. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges you have, go through sort of the initial design review process that we've done in the past and we found to be successful with our current customers. And then we're going to dig into some of the technology. I'm going to show you what our outdoor mass notification system looks like. Alertus Technologies was founded in 2002. Our CEO was a student at a college in Maryland, and basically a tornado went through the campus, and there was some fatalities. And he and some of his classmates came up with a new type of technology to alert during an emergency. The school was lacking, so different technology at the time to tell students that there was the tornado and to shelter in place. And Alertus grew from there. It started from a grant, and now some 16 plus years later, I think we're all over the world and in several verticals, from the industrial, higher ed, healthcare, military. We just closed a deal with the United States Air Force in Afghanistan, where we'll be helping them alert during emergencies. So, of course, that is a project that we're extremely proud of. And we also have customers through K through 12. So you can see the whole spectrum of customers we have, and maybe a small school K through 12, all the way through the Department of Defense, paper refineries, those sorts of facilities. Quick list of some of our customers. This is just a small sampling. The top are colleges. The colleges customers are a big part of our portfolio. A lot of sort of industrial facilities, Department of Defense, government. Okay, so let's dig into it. So I guess the first thing I'd like you to do is kind of just start to think about how you're currently issuing emergency notifications. What are you doing? What are the processes you and your team are following during an emergency? Are you going over to a screen and typing in the message? Are you sort of hitting a panic button? Do you have several vendors, that you work with? You activate one, you activate another. Do you have a panic button, phone alerts? Maybe you have just an old Siren system that was originally on your campus for weather alerts, and now you're using it for potential emergencies, such as active shooters or chemical releases, as one of our customers recently did. And then I'd like you to kind of start thinking, what is that? How long is it taking? You're sending out a text, you're sending out voice calls. Sometimes there's a call tree. Some of our customers still have call trees they go down. Are you activating the siren? And sort of add up all these times. We're finding that our customers, the average time is somewhere between 5 and 30 minutes. This is a long time. It's a long time for you to take during a real emergency. What we want to do is streamline this process for you and really give you an integrated one-button solution for the system. As I mentioned, we'll take all the different technologies together. This is where Alertus really shines, and where I think we're sort of the best. I think we're the best in the world at doing this. We're going to look at your phones, your emails, cable TV, PA systems, and give you a single point of activation and a layered approach. So that message that I'm going to talk to you about outdoors, you're getting the exact same message indoors. You're getting it across your phone, your computers, and all the other peripherals. Now, we do have a number of other, series for the desktop alerting, indoor PA, our alert beacons. We can definitely I'll refer you to. We are going to focus solely on outdoors, but I did want to make sure I at least touched on those. So again, our strength is our integration, putting all that technology together into one unified emergency alert. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on, I'll give you a minute to sort of look over our solution overview. But let's go ahead and we're going to dig into the outdoor notification with clear voice. I think one of the first problems I hear from customers is I hear so many names. When we talk about outdoor mass notification, we're talking about wide area mass notification. That's usually your NFPA 72. Those are folks who are familiar with sort of the fire panel of fire world. You may see emergency communication. Our government customers talk about giant voice, big voice. It's in the Navy, siren system. They all kind of, at the end of the day, it's all one umbrella, talking about one market, one group of technologies, and those are technologies that are used to notify outdoors, to notify folks that are outside facilities, walking around. It might be a large area, such as a woods or a sports field or something like that, or it may even just be an egress point, between buildings. Now, when we first talk with our customers, we kind of ask them a few basic questions. So what we want to do is we want to qualify and really kind of learn as much as we can about them and their facility and their needs. And we ask a few simple questions. Number one, where are people? Where are people outdoors? Are they at sports fields? Do you have jogging paths, quads, egress points, gates, parking lots? As a team, I would suggest may even sound silly. You already know your campus. You might have been there 5, 10, 20 years. But sit down and really talk about it. And I think you'll be surprised. A lot of times they think, oh, you know what? I forgot about this smoking area in the northeast part of our campus, and really kind of identify on your campus the areas that you need to cover, the parts that aren't currently getting notified. The next question I'd ask is, who are you trying to notify? Because their role and what they do may have a big part into how you notify them. Someone who's a guest on your campus may not receive that text alert. Someone who's a new soldier that just moved to your fort or base may have not fully processed in yet, and they haven't learned. Maybe they just came out of boot camp and they haven't learned what the particular alerts are. Maybe they're focused on a sports game. A lot of times, everyone's kind of focused on their social media or their phones and what are they doing? Who are they? And really just develop the personas of the people who we're trying to reach and really understanding this. Are they leaving campus? Are they staying on campus? One of the first things we're going to ask you for is a campus map. This is sort of your generic basic campus map. This is one of our customers, but we left the name off. So basically, you're going to see the same things probably in your facility. Maybe you have a baseball field, football field. Maybe you have walkways between buildings, jogging paths, different things. And really, usually what we ask is, circle the areas, give us the boundaries. And what we'll do is we use our proprietary software application, and we'll put this information in, enter in building heights, topography, different certain things, and come back with you with our first iteration. We'll also ask you a few other qualifying questions. Do you already have a siren system? Is it a tone-only system? What do they do when they hear the tone? Do you think you'd benefit from having that voice component to your emergency warning system? I'm of the mind that a tone-only siren system isn't very useful. I think it's great if it's a tsunami warning system, it's either a siren tone or not a siren tone, or if it's a tornado warning system, either it's a tornado or not a tornado. I think siren tone systems are great with binary decisions, but on your campus and your facility, I think you're going to have a multitude of threats, multitude of situations. So what we're proposing, and what we will propose for you, is both a siren tone and voice component. So you'll hear that siren tone to get their attention. So someone's on Snapchat, whatever the latest, thing is, and it draws them away from what they're doing, gets their attention. Then it's followed by a voice message. There is a shooter on campus. Seek shelter immediately. Enunciated. Then all the other layers of your emergency warning system that I mentioned at the beginning will reaffirm and will add to that message. And so the student or your guest understands that this is not a test. This is a real emergency. We may, and again, if you do already have a system, we can integrate it with it. Or what we can do is reuse some of the infrastructure. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we do want to make sure that we leverage as much as your existing, technologies we have. We also would want to know what is your IP infrastructure. We have some small schools, and it's just the fact that the IT director is also in charge of emergency, is also in charge of this, also in charge of that. So we can really help you narrow down and figure out, with minimal work on your side, the best way to integrate with that IP infrastructure. Do you want to use radios instead of leveraging your IP? This is great if you have a field that's sort of off in the distance, you don't have connectivity. And if you don't have anything yet at all, that's great too. We can start from scratch. So the general idea is we're going to look at your existing technology and policies and help you sort of tailor a custom system for you. Now, sort of one of the last questions we ask is, do you want to have a siren tone and voice message only? In other words, do you want to get away from sort of the legacy live PA? We feel that text-to-speech, embedded text-to-speech technology is the best way to alert. And this is the argument. Number one, when you give a live PA in a real emergency, it's extremely complicated. You need to hold your microphone close to your mouth. You need to enunciate clearly. You need to be free of accent. And you need to speak slowly. And again, this is a real emergency. So unless you were a trained professional, I have heard actual, fire chiefs do it very well because this is what they do every single day, but for the most part, it's extremely difficult. And by the way, number two, you have other things to do in an emergency. You have your emergency plan that you need to follow. What we want to do is we want to give you that simple point of activation, and then you move on to steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in your emergency plan. And you shouldn't have to worry about sitting there, with the microphone. Now, with that said, again, siren tone, text-to-speech. With that said, we do have the ability to give you that live voice component. There are some customers that, the last 5, 10, 20 years, they've been giving live PA messages to their existing staff and guests. And it's ingrained in their culture. It's ingrained in their policies to do those live messages. So, again, we can propose either direction. That's something we can discuss as we go further. So what we'll come back after we answer these questions and we kind of work through this process with you, and it's iterative, by the way. We go through each step, a few times. Maybe we go back and forth and sort of we work with you to tailor the system for you. We'll give you a proposal, build you a new comprehensive, a whole brand new beginning to end new system. Maybe we'll integrate with your existing outdoor system. Maybe you already have Alertus. I was looking through the attendee list. We have a couple hundred people joining us, closer to 300 actually. And a lot of the people attending today are already Alertus customers looking to expand. And it's very simple to do that. So that's something we can definitely dig deeper into. So one of the deliverables we'll give you, again, this is all pre-proposal. This is all at no obligation. It's something we provide to customers at no cost. We'll give you a design showing the estimated coverage. Again, each location is a siren in the direction of the sirens. In this particular campus, we have two 1,200 watts high power speaker arrays. You'll hear me say HPSA. That's a high power speaker array. Two 1200 watt HPSAs and one 600 watt HPSA. So within this campus, 3 HPSAs for the most part cover the campus. Now we do have things called acoustical shadows and other sort of things we do want to address and talk about when we go through the design. And there are ways of filling those in, but for the most part, most of this campus is covered with this design. Okay, so what does the technology look like? What are we proposing? We go through the process. We tell you how many speaker arrays, what we need to do to cover your outdoor areas. We've identified the areas. We've identified who the people are and sort of their roles. Okay, let's talk a bit about the technology. This is a 1200 watt HPSA high power speaker array. So that's 8 150 watt speakers. This is going to go on a roof or it's going to go on a pole. I'll show you some examples. These are aluminum. These are Alertus speakers. We make these out in the Midwest, out in Iowa. We have a aluminum factory out there that mold these for us. They can go in basically any temperature range. They're going to last forever. They're very robust, very light and simple to install. I hope one of the things you notice is sort of the detail we put into this design and the way we've kept it very simple. We can install most systems without the need of cranes or any complicated equipment. We can go anywhere from 300 to 2,400 watts. So again, that's going to be, the wattage is going to be determined by the number of speakers. We can do the smallest is 100, which I'll show, but we also have 300, which is only 2 speakers, all the way up to 2,400 watts, which is 16 speakers. So we have a section of a major city here in the U.S. that we're doing right now. They have 2,400 watt units, actually 2 major cities. Zoning, I think, is important. Sometimes you don't want to notify your entire facilities. You want to be able to just select one speaker array. So if you have a speaker on the north side of campus and a speaker array on the south side of campus, maybe you just want to notify the folks on the south side of campus because there's a lightning storm coming or there's a hailstorm coming, and you don't think it's necessary to notify people on the north side of campus because that's all dormitories, and on the south side are sports fields. Or maybe you're a refinery and you have a emergency and you just want to notify a section of the refinery. You want to zone out that refinery only to that one area. It can be very expensive. I don't have to tell you this. It can be very expensive to alert an entire facility and to shut down an entire facility if you just really need to notify a small section. So I think having that zoning capability is super important. It's weather tight. Of course, the system's going to be in temperatures as hot as the desert. There's systems in the Middle East as well as systems up in Canada, northern parts of Canada. So it's really important that we focus on keeping it weather tight and able to survive all weather conditions. The system will provide various siren tones and clear text-to-speech messaging. So whatever that message is that's going across the rest of your Alertus peripherals, it could be, it's going to be the exact same message indoors as outdoors. So I think that's really powerful. You don't want to have different messages. So from your indoor and your outdoor system. So again, the text-to-speech messaging, I think, is a key component. You also have local control at the cabinet. This sort of just gives you another layer of redundancy, so you can go to your electronics cabinet and actually do a live PA from there. You can also go to the cabinet and do some troubleshooting and system startup. So maybe once a year you have a preventative maintenance inspection. You go by and you open the cabinet and run a self-test, do some activations from there. I think having that local control at each of the speaker arrays is an important feature. Battery backup. So this is very important. If you lose power, each unit is powered just by either 110 or 220 volts. But if you lose that power, you want to be able to have a battery backup. I had a customer yesterday who was considering just buying sort of your, I don't know what you call it, Radio Shack or whatever you want to call it. Actually, I don't even think they're around anymore, but basic PA system. They said, well, why don't I just buy a few speakers, stick them outside? Well, first of all, it's not battery backup. You want to be able to, it needs to be able to work, without power. Also, the constant system monitoring is important. So if someone tries to steal the copper that goes between your speakers and the electronics, if someone tries to tamper with the electronics box, if something happens to one of your components, you need to know about that ahead of time. You don't want to find out that the system's not working when there's an emergency. And I think that's where some of the major value of the system lies is it is constantly monitoring itself. It does have battery backup, and it does have clear voice messaging. I think the clear enunciating is very important, and it does have that unified message across all your devices. I'll go through some slides here. Some of our customers. This is a building mount I mentioned. So again, we will help you choose the different locations around your facility, right? Different buildings, different poles, different sections. This is one of the options. We have some customers that they don't like this, and then we have other customers that say that's great. We don't have to actually mount anything to the building. This is a very popular type of technology used for sort of satellite dishes or radio antennas, things like that. But we use it for our speaker arrays. It's non-penetrating. It sits on rubber pads held down by ballasting. We do have some window calculations we can give you for each of the 1200 watt unit, and then from the speaker array, speaker wire goes into a weatherhead. Okay, so a lot of times we want to put the electronics inside that drive these speakers. It's not necessary, but sometimes we do. It makes it easier for you to access the cabinet and also to get to it easily. Here's a situation where we put the cabinet outside. This is a boarding school in a very cold area of the country. And in this particular unit, we're using antennas. So there wasn't IP connectivity for this customer. They had an existing pole, by the way. We didn't have to install a new pole with light. So we basically put a 3.5-inch aluminum mast on the top of the pole. This is our custom pole mount. Fiberglass omnidirectional antenna down to the electronics cabinet. Inside the electronics cabinet is our audio amplifiers and other electronics. Again, a wall mount. This is another, probably not the best picture, but it's a little blurry, but you get the idea. Basically, the mount goes above the roof line, speakers on the top. The electronics go into the electronics cabinet. Again, we try to get these indoors as much as possible, but it is an IP66 or NEMA 4X equivalent cabinet, so you can hit this with a hose and the electronics still won't get damaged. It's tamper-proof. You see there's two locks. If someone were to actually try to get in there, they took a crowbar to it, you're going to get an alert back at your from the Alertus server telling you that there's a fault. Also, inside, again, there is a 4 audio amplifiers for 1200 watt. Then we have our controller board. Controller board's what's sort of the brains behind the system. It's monitoring the system. It's interfacing with radios. It's interfacing with our text-to-speech and alert beacons, that sort of thing. Two 12-volt, 75-amp-hour batteries, as I mentioned, and then your battery charger. So it's pretty simple. You get this electronics cabinet. That's really where a lot of the brains and the major technology is, and that drives our speakers. And we'll give you different modalities and ways of integrating with the speakers. Now, we do have another product line. To see, what I just showed you is between 300 and 2400 watts. We do have a smaller unit. It's our 100-watt high-power speaker, and these are very popular in K through 12 or some other smaller facilities. This is all self-contained. So all the electronics, you'll see there on the right, there's a battery and there's some circuitry, a block of electronics, then our audio driver. So this is everything self-contained into one unit. So I think this can be powerful if you're not looking, to alert the entire campus. Maybe you just have a small section. You said, you know what, I really just need people in the parking lot coming and going, people at the gates. Let's distribute a couple of these, 2, 3, 4 of these around the facility, and I think that's going to be enough. So again, that's where that design process that we have really comes into play, and it's something we'll suss out and kind of figure out what's the best thing for you. And every customer is the same in some ways, but they're different in a lot of ways. Again, this is going to be a tailored solution. We'll work with you. Now, how do you activate it? Everyone on who, again, is already an Alertus customer already knows this, but we try to keep it simple. One thing I didn't put in my slides, which I should have, is there are external partners and third-party interfaces, such as personal recipient companies that we partner with, Also, NOAA alerts and some other API integrations. But these are sort of your, tactile, hands-on ways you can activate the system. We can give you customized panic buttons. I like those. I think they keep it simple. We can customize what those say. So it can say evacuate, shelter in place, lockdown, emergency. In my mind, there's only really a few scenarios, and then everything else is sort of a subcategory of those scenarios. You're going to evacuate. You're going to shelter in place. It's going to be a test, or it's going to be an all clear, right? So each of those four scenarios, for the most part, you're going to have some subcategory. So an active shooter would be most likely an instance of shelter in place, a chemical release, maybe an instance of the evacuate. But I think you can sort of maybe bring down some of your alerts down to just some panic buttons. Or you may choose, I want to go in and I want to actually type in the message each time, or I want to select a pre-canned message. That's when you go into the Alertus console. And again, we have a number of webinar series where we really dig into that. Also, your regional sales manager can definitely, dig into that. That's a whole nother presentation. But in short, it's a graphical user interface that you can go into and activate, get status from your system. Again, you want to know the status of every component. Mobile app. So an administrator, not anybody can get this. Of course, you need credentials and be an administrator and such, but you can activate your system from there. I think it's very powerful. You're not always in front of that panic button. So it gives you sort of that redundant way of activating. And it's not just one of these. You can have every single one of these. So you give yourself these multiple instances, and when you train and when you do exercises and things like this, you want to try and you want to use all these in the different ways. But we also have software panic button. That's an awesome new feature that we've added within the last few years. I think being able to go in, you can literally just go with your keyboard and activate the system through our icon tray, through our icon. And we can definitely dig into that in another meeting. Another device is our control panel. So this is where you go to give your live PA. This integrates with the Alertus server. You can see a little, network connection on the side of the control panel. The acronym is OCP, Operation Control Panel. But in short, you can go there. You can activate live voice messaging and some pre-recorded messages from there as well. Also, you get some diagnostic ability from that. So, again, we're going to tailor it for you for text-to-speech or for live voice messaging. But that's basically it. We've put together a process to help you, come up with a design to really work out the details with you. I think we have the best technology, and I think we're ready probably for some questions.
All right. Thank you, John. We are now beginning the Q&A session of our presentation. If you have a question, please submit them through the chat or question box. Please note, if we do not get to your question during this session, a representative will reach out to answer your question directly. A recording of this webinar will also be shared with you after today's presentation. Now let's begin with our first question. How many watts are the HPSAs?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think the short answer is we have smaller 50 watts. We have 100 watts. We can go 300 and 2400 watts. But I think sometimes we sort of get into these I don't know, like debates or sort of apples to apples contests where you say, well, we have this 1600 watt, or we have this 3200 watt. At the end of the day, what's important is we specify to you the correct technology for the area we're trying to cover. So the answer is anywhere from 5 watts up to 2400 watts. But I think an even better answer is I don't think bigger is always better. Just saying, well, we're 3000 watts. I think having the correct technology for the area you're trying to alert is most important. I think that's what our process is doing here. So hopefully I answered that.
Okay. Can you have multiple locations for local control?
Multiple locations for local control, yes. So there we can have redundant operation control panels. So you can have multiple control panels activating. Also, that control panel integrates with the Alertus server. So that Alertus server then goes back to these other technologies. So then you can have these all over your facility. You can have different mobile apps. You can have different panic buttons. You can have different. So not only do we give you multiple control panels, we also give you different modalities to activate from. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. How long is the battery backup good for?
Well, we say 5 days generally, but it can be a week. We've let it sit for a week and then ran it. After that, sitting on without power for a week. I think it can go even further depending on whether you use a radio and what's draining that battery. So if you have a particular requirement for your industry, we can then specify the size of battery needed to meet that requirement. So some customers, they say, well, we need 10 days and we need to be able to activate for this amount of time. Then we'll just simply add additional battery banks. So we can expand that time if necessary.
Can you vary the audio output in different speakers around your campus?
You can adjust. Each speaker array has a volume control. You can go into each speaker array and adjust the volume for that speaker array, not the individual speakers.
Are there aesthetically pleasing speaker configurations?
Well, I'm biased. I think they're all great. I think our speakers are beautiful. No, so it's tough. There is a trade-off. I mean, there are always those sort of folks on campus that are concerned about aesthetics. Maybe it's a historical campus. Maybe there's a historical building. I've had to move speaker arrays because of designs. I've had customers move speaker arrays after we've designed it, because of feedback. So what we can do is we could sort of break some of the speakers up and help you move them into locations where you don't see them as much. But we need to be careful. We don't want to start then affecting the sound quality because someone decided to go around and move the speakers, because of sort of political reasons or things like that. So to answer the question, yes, I think they're very good looking. We can send you different photos and different, information, and we can kind of work with you to sort of not quite hide them, but get them out of eyesight. And you'll have to look for them to see them.
Okay. What is the warranty on the speaker components?
Well, we have a 2-year parts warranty that can also be extended depending on the customer situation and the contract vehicle. But the standard is 2 years parts, and then we go from there. Yeah.
Are the self-contained speakers serviceable?
They are. They do take a little work. There is a special sort of tool, it's just an Allen wrench basically, that you need to open it, and if you do want to service it, but we try to keep it pretty simple. So yes, it's serviceable. It opens with four bolts and you get to the battery, but we do that with our support. I think that's one of the biggest strengths that Alertus has. Our support team will be able to help you both over the internet, or over phone, over webinar, screen share, things like this. We can help you go through that process if you do want to open up a unit and service it.
How many zones can be configured?
Oh, it's basically limitless to a certain extent. That's a limitation in our software. So right now we have a customer that's a school. They have over 400 alert beacons. These are beacons that go on the wall. If they want, they can activate 1, 2, 20, 100, create different groups, different zones. So it's almost limitless. But I wouldn't say that. My software engineers would yell at me. But it's a very it's a lot. I'll have the exact number. I'll have to get back to because it's just so many. But it's a very high number. I'd say over 100.
Okay. Can you hear the siren or the speakers from the inside of the building?
So it is an outdoor warning system, and the short answer is no. The reason why I say that is because most buildings are designed specifically to keep sound out. It's part of, the architect who built the building, he or she designed it to keep sound out, right? So you have especially newer buildings with the newer windows, you know, I think indoors you want to use those indoor components that I mentioned at the beginning of the slide, the desktop alerting, the alert beacons, the other peripherals, and then outdoors you want to use the outdoor mass notification system. So sometimes you can hear inside. One of the first things I always hear when someone activates the systems, they'll say, "Well, I was in my office and I didn't hear the voice message." Well, if you're inside in your office, our goal is it's nice if you hear the siren tone outside, but we want to touch you with that desktop alert or with that mobile app application or with that alert beacon or some other integrated piece of technology.
Okay. Can the interface pass voice messaging through fire alarm systems?
Yes, it can. We have a text-to-speech module that does that. Basically, it converts that text message to a voice message and it gives you that unified message. So if you already have an annunciator inside your building, we can then integrate with that and make that part of your warning system. It's something that's been addressed and has been worked into the fire codes. NFPA 72 does address that and allow for the override of indoor annunciators. So we've done that dozens and dozens of times, and we can definitely help you design a system to integrate with your panel.
Okay. If there's like a power outage in a building for like an electrical issue, does Alertus have to reset the system?
Well, it's all going to depend on your configuration. Ideally, we want to make sure that the speaker arrays do have the battery backup inside, and then we want to make sure that all the other devices also have that battery backup. If they do, they shouldn't have to. If they don't have the necessary infrastructure, that's usually something we'll help identify, early in the design process. So again, having that battery backup should keep your system up seamlessly. That's the goal, assuming you have those redundancies in place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have now concluded our Q&A session of our presentation. Again, if we did not get to your question, we will reach out directly to you to answer. If you have any questions or need additional information, please feel free to email marketing@alertus.com and we will be happy to assist. If you are looking for more information on Alertus and our solutions, visit our website, www.alertus.com. If you are interested in upcoming webinars, please visit www.alertus.com/webinars to see the full schedule. Thank you for joining today's webinar, and we look forward to meeting you again soon.